This is the 2025 Vespa GTS 310 Super Sport. It's criminal that it took over a decade for a Vespa to be featured here on Yami Noob. This brand is as iconic as it gets. The word Vespa is synonymous with scooters. Whether you're an Italian playboy gallivanting around Tuscany or a German graffiti artist navigating the brutalist landscapes of Berlin, the Vespa just might be the perfect tool for the job. But what about for us corn-fed Americans? Does this GTS 310 work for our cities and streets, or is it just an overpriced lifestyle toy? I'm gonna put this machine through its paces out on the street before bringing it back here in the studio for an in-depth overview. And then we'll render a verdict on what makes the Vespa such a figurehead in the two-wheeled world. Maybe every motorcyclist could use a scooter in their garage. Big shout out to the guys at AF1 for supplying me with this bike. If you're in the Austin area looking for a new European ride, or you just need some parts, hit them up in the description down below. All right, enough yapping, let's swing a leg, or I guess step a leg into this machine and go for a ride.
A wonderful little scooter right here on Yami Noob. Did you ever think it would happen? I didn't. I am pumped to ride this thing, man. Look at it in this beautiful blue color. The stitching on the seats. I think it's a handsome looking little thing. Just a cool design. If you're a motorcyclist, you may be a little unfamiliar with how scooter things work. I know I was whenever I got this thing. So first of all, check this out. Button over here. Look at this little storage compartment, man. Complete with my hat and my DJI 360 that I could not get to fit on this little bike. Gasoline goes in the back over here. The motor's actually in the back, so the weight distribution is a bit wonky because there is nothing in the middle here. You can, step right through it or kick right through it. You got this little hook right here for groceries or whatever else you have, which is pretty sweet. Stepping onto this wonderful machine. This is totally keyless, so you actually press this button, flip it over here, and then you see this nice sweeping needle. Hey, thank you, Vespa. Got a little sweeping needle there. Flick it this way, press the brake, turn her on, and you're fired right up, man. You are fired right up. So if you put the kickstand down, it will cut the motor as well, just as you saw there. So just like a regular motorcycle. All right, we're back on. So I can't really do a sound check for the exhaust because I will propel myself forward if I do that. If I put it up on the center stand, which it has right back here, I could do that. This has a classic scooter slush box style transmission. So you'll see I can kind of roll this thing back and forth even though it's on. And then once I give it a little gas, I move forward. And then both levers are brakes. It's front and rear independently, kind of like a bicycle. So you take off, you put your feet right here on the floorboards, and you're cruising along, man. Super intuitive, very easy to ride. And Vespas are really sweet and low-speed stuff. I mean, check out this steering I got, lock to lock, man. It's crazy. Like if I crank this thing over, I just go like that. You can turn on an absolute dime with this thing. You can absolutely see why it would be so good in very tight urban environments. And despite rolling on some pretty small little wheels, it's surprisingly stable at speed. Obviously extremely agile in low speeds because of those wheels. Kind of has that Grom effect. But this little motor, 310cc single cylinder, it really gets away with like an effortless kind of, just poise and grace going down the road. You can pick up a little bit of steam with this thing that you would not imagine. Now, what happens on a scooter that's kind of fun is you start to get kind of this low stakes, relaxed kind of vibe about it, You cruise on here on the edge of a cliff, look out to the water, imagine yourself on the coast of Italy. This is as close as I can get here in Austin, Texas, and you know what? It's not too bad. This beautiful blue paint job. You just enter a very different state of mind when you're on a scooter, especially a beautiful Vespa like this. I find myself just kind of putting my knees out a little bit. I kind of kick them out a little bit. Like everything is like low stakes. I'm just sitting along, going down the way here. And I find myself very over prepared to ride this motorcycle. I'm wearing my gloves and my full face helmet and my jacket, and you know, what I really want to do with this thing is just like wear shorts, a half helmet, and go hit up the beach. Like, that's what I want to do with this bike. That's really all you want to do with the scooter, you know? And this 310 GTS is pretty nice because it actually has enough power to get up to well above 50 or 60 miles per hour. This is a motorcycle that, as you guys will see later in the test, you know, you can get up to the freeway cruising speeds no problem. It's very agile side to side. It's very well balanced, even though the motor is, I'm sitting sort of right on top of it and it's kind of behind me in a way. I don't have a lot of weight, you know, right in front of me at all. It does tend to tip in really quickly, and you find yourself riding it a little bit differently because, you know, you don't put the weight over the front end, you don't load it up like a regular motorcycle. You do more regular, you know, just like scooter type of stuff with it. You kind of lean with your butt a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of tip it in, kind of flex over with your butt a little bit. And I don't know, like you just end up really feeling what this little bike wants to do. And you know, you don't ride it like a motorcycle because it's not a motorcycle, it's a scooter, but it's still a two-wheeled vehicle that goes under its own power, so a lot of the dynamics still apply. I'm kind of surprised at how much get up and go it has. I find myself, I enter corners using both brakes, kind of bleed off front and rear sort of differently and independently, which is kind of fun. And despite the fact that it doesn't have a transmission, the throttle response is very crisp and smooth. It has an immediacy and an urgency to it that's really nice. You kind of just get on it like this and picks up speed no problem. Because of that kind of slushy, scootery transmission, you know, when you ask for throttle, you seemingly always have the same amount of power, no matter if you're going, you know, 40 or 0 miles per hour. One really nice added benefit of this machine is it's so unintimidating and so friendly looking that if you're in traffic, people really tend to give you a lot of leeway. I've noticed that I can ride the shoulder or cut around cars. Like, it's like people expect that from a scooter and they don't mind when a scooter does it. But if you were on a motorcycle, people would certainly get upset. They would say, oh my God, look at this a-hole just trying to get his way around and cut in front of everybody. But a scooter, it's like, I swear I could probably take this thing on the bike lane and people are like, oh, it's like a moped thing, right? Whatever, that's supposed to be there. But this thing can do 75 miles an hour. It's like those crazy electric bicycles that people have nowadays that can go super fast, and you're like, why do you even own that thing? You should not be able to go that fast with an electric bicycle. But the feeling is one of calm, of poise, of grace, of simplicity. It's a really nice place to sit, man. It's a nice place to sit and just take it all in. Because the machine asks very little of you, I find myself just, you know, observing my environment a little bit more, and you know, it kind of feels like you can't really get hurt on one of these, even though obviously you can. You're still exposed to the elements going reasonably fast. Like, if I were to, you know, fall off going 35 miles an hour, I'm not going to have a great day. It's going to hurt a little bit. But I think it's the type of bike that it just makes you believe that you can just ride it a little bit more smooth and careful and easy going, you know? Easy breezy. Lemon squeezy. You just want to go get an ice cream with this thing. I don't know, like, it's really nice. One area that I was a bit concerned with the Vespa was going to be how it would handle uneven road surfaces and bumps, because it's rolling on very tiny little, like, skateboard style wheels, and it doesn't have too much in the way of a sophisticated suspension, and not much suspension travel either. I was kind of worried that it would have this, like, pretty rough and tumble feel to it. Somehow it doesn't. This thing handles bumps so well, and it's so buttery smooth too. You know, the way that it goes over bumps, like, it's damped really nice. You know, I don't know how it goes over bumps so smoothly, but you know, it just handles everything really, really nicely, and you kind of feel like you can really, I wouldn't say hustle this thing around, but it definitely has a much wider performance envelope than you would imagine. I think it would take a lot to kind of outbrake or outmaneuver this machine, and you'd probably have to be riding like a total moron on the road for that to really happen. Like, I am more than capable of, you know, I could pass this car in front of me, no problem at all with this little scooter. And I have noticed that is something that people do tend to get a little upset about, is if you are at a red light and one of this thing's best party tricks is if you just romp on the throttle at a red light. You know, you get up to 40, 50 miles per hour pretty darn quick with this thing. And people don't like when a scooter beats them off the red light. I've noticed that nearly every time I accelerate rather briskly at a red light, it doesn't matter what is next to me, I almost always hear it like accelerating faster than me and trying to beat me in whatever I'm doing, which is really funny. Like, you can actually tell that this SUV in front of us is trying to drive a little bit quicker, but we're not going to let him get away because we are on the little scoot here, boys. Look at us, we're flowing on this big wide road doing 50 miles an hour. Completely effortless on the Vespa. This 310 is sweet, man. This 310's a lot of fun. I'll show you what I mean by the brisk acceleration here. I'll show you guys if there's no cars coming. Hopefully there aren't. We're good to go. Look at this. Yeah, baby. Ooh, TC came on, I think. It didn't give me the power. Look at this. We're doing 70, 75 on the scoot on 12-inch wheels. Better slow down. But yeah, look at these bumps and potholes. It just handles it beautifully. Really nice. It is such an excellent low-stakes way to enjoy the two-wheeled life. And I love thinking about, you know, like, I have a little hook here for groceries, and I can chuck stuff in the seat behind me, underneath me. It's a very useful little thing. Because sometimes, you know, you look at it this way, right? Like, every time I ride my motorcycle, there's a little bit of theater about it, right? You know, you gotta put on all the gear and get the whole thing and really go out and get yourself pumped up and ready or whatever. But I think one of the beauties of a scooter is it's so low stakes. You just kind of jump on and go. And I think that's why I get this vibe that I want to wear less gear and I just want to, like, go bomb over to the coffee shop with it, or like go run a quick errand. It just feels like a beautiful mix of something that is very useful, very easy to use, and yet beautiful and timeless and interesting to look at and cool and just like kind of effortlessly interesting. And that's really, really cool. I really like that about this bike. All right, so the riding impressions are awesome. This thing's a ton of fun to ride. Really cool little bike. Let's get it back in the studio, talk you through the specs on this thing.
Okay, let me take a break really quick and tell you about a secret weapon I use on my bike, and that is Rockform. I've been using products from them for many years now, and you'll always find one of their mounts on my bikes. Right when I think a Rockform handlebar mount can't get any better, they went and dropped their new wireless charging head. This little guy fits onto any existing Rockform handlebar mount, and when plumbed into USB power, it'll wirelessly charge your phone anytime it's mounted onto your handlebar. It's pretty sweet. It means no more arriving at your destination with 5% battery or fumbling around with extra cords every time you get on or off your bike. I've been using it, and honestly, it's a game changer. Whether you're commuting or heading out on a weekend canyon run, your phone stays powered, protected, and perfectly positioned. Rockform has always been a longtime supporter of Yami Noob, and we are very grateful for that. So if you like what we do and need to upgrade your mount or jump on the bandwagon for the first time, hit the link in the description and use the code YN25 for 25% off your order from Rockform. Thanks again to Rockform for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it.
Vespa is not just a scooter brand, it's an icon. This is a company that's been continuously shaping urban mobility and Italian style since the end of World War II. You could argue it's the most recognizable two-wheeled silhouette in the world, Hayabusa notwithstanding. Vespa's history dates back to 1946 when Piaggio rolled out a lightweight enclosed scooter to help post-war Italy get mobile again. The styling hasn't drifted too far from that original design, with smooth curves and pressed steel bodywork. Unlike many Italian motorcycle companies, Vespa is not tiny in production numbers, but their ethos is just as pure. A Vespa is as much a cultural artifact as it is a machine. Audrey Hepburn in Roman Holiday? Vespa. The mod subculture in 1960s London? Vespa. Even today, you'll see them in Hollywood films and Instagram posts from influencers vacationing in Europe, most of whom have never even attempted to ride a conventional motorcycle. That kind of brand equity is something few other motorcycle companies can match. And yet, despite being a mass-produced scooter with decades of history, the Vespa GTS remains premium, both in price and in feel. This 2025 GTS 310 retails in the US for around $7,900, which is a big ask for something with tiny wheels and a step-through frame. But that's the Vespa tax. You're not buying a Vespa solely for transportation, you're buying the design, the heritage, and the timeless appeal. Honda or Genuine will sell you a scooter for thousands less, but no one's gonna take pictures of your bike parked outside the coffee shop if you do. Come on, let's be honest. Honda Ruckus, it's hard to look at. The GTS uses Vespa's signature steel monocoque frame, a hallmark of the brand since 1946. Unlike most scooters or motorcycles that bolt together through a tubular steel or aluminum frame, Vespa literally stamps and welds a body shell that doubles as the chassis. This makes the scooter both sturdy and sleek. It feels solid in a way that plastic-clad scooters from competitors just simply can't. It also contributes to that unique Vespa ride quality, featuring a slightly heavier feel, but it means it's more planted, stable, and with fewer creaks or rattles. Every curve is part of the structural skeleton. That's not just style for style's sake. It's purposeful engineering that's been baked into the design that's a core feature of the brand. Vespa does translate to wasp after all, and it's a nod to the fact that the signature bee-like silhouette is what makes a Vespa a Vespa. The beating heart of this machine is the new and improved 310cc high-performance engine. This single-cylinder, 4-stroke motor is liquid-cooled and fuel-injected, putting out 25 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, about 21 foot-pounds of torque at 5,250 RPM. Now look, that might not sound like much compared to a normal motorcycle, but for a scooter tipping the scales at just shy of 360 pounds wet, it's got plenty of zip. I mean, from personal experience, this thing will outrun a lot of commuter cars and even some motorcycles. Piaggio increased the displacement slightly from the earlier GTS generations to ensure that it would remain compliant with Euro 5 emissions regulations without sacrificing usable performance. It's kind of funny how the arc of Euro 5's ever-increasing displacements have come for the humble little Vespa as well. Speaking of performance, with a 2.25 gallon tank and over 70 miles per gallon for urban commuting, refueling is really going to be an afterthought. The 310cc Thumper is not a blow your pants off type of motor. It's just smooth, predictable, and tuned for urban usability. The CVT transmission means there's no gears to worry about. You just twist and go. But the way the Vespa has dialed in the clutch engagement and the throttle response makes it feel snappy off the line and very predictable. In city traffic, that immediate usable power is exactly what you want. At full tilt, the GTS feels surprisingly eager. Now look, it's not going to win any drag races, but it will absolutely dust the vast majority of commuter cars at a stoplight on your commute if that's your prerogative. But don't come after me if you get pulled over for drag racing your Vespa. Weighing in at 359 pounds, the GTS is not featherweight by scooter standards, but that heft combined with the rigid steel frame and tiny 12-inch wheels gives it stability at speed. Where smaller scooters can feel really twitchy or nervous over potholes or going a little bit faster, the GTS tracks straight and true. It's remarkably smooth. In true Italian fashion, the Vespa's front suspension uses a single-sided swing arm combined with a coil spring and twin shocks at the rear with 4 positions of preload adjustment. Now this setup is old school Vespa, but it gets the job done better than you might imagine. Riding the GTS feels more like a magic carpet than a motorcycle, the way it sort of seamlessly soaks up the road's imperfections to keep the ride comfortable without numbing you to the unique experience. Because that's part of the beauty of a machine like this. It allows you to be present and fully immersed in the environment instead of speeding through at triple digits where everything becomes an eye-watering blur. Front and rear wheels both have ABS, and there's even a simple traction control system to mitigate rear wheel slip. This may seem like overkill on a 25 horsepower machine, but this bike is designed to be a daily rider. It's also a requirement for any machine over 300 cc's in Europe. Fun fact. If you should find yourself riding on wet or uneven terrain like the rain-soaked cobblestones of a 1,000-year-old European city, the ASR traction control is a nice safety net. You don't want to hit a puddle and low-side your beautiful Vespa, where you'll find your luggage basket filled with baguette loaves and artisan cheeses thrown into the gutter. Beyond its iconic badge and distinguished design, the Vespa's GTS quality of life features is much of what cements its position as a premium scooter offering. For a classic machine, it's packed with modern conveniences. To the chagrin of purists, the GTS actually uses a keyless ignition with a proximity fob, so you can unlock, start, and lock it without digging through your pockets. And honestly, it's kind of a nice feature. You just walk up to the bike and go. The same fob allows you to remotely lock or unlock the on-bike storage, of which there is plenty. Beyond the under-seat trunk compartment, there's also a leg shield compartment equipped with a USB charger. The fob is also used to activate the bike finder feature, which activates the turn indicators and makes the GTS easier to find in a crowded parking lot. This is probably overkill here in the States. I mean, if you park one of these in parking lot, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. But in Europe, where crowded city squares have endless seas of parked scooters, this feature could prove useful. The Vespa MIA system allows for Bluetooth connectivity with your smartphone should you want to answer calls or control your music from the handlebar. It's pretty cool. For improved visibility, there's LED lighting all around too. These details are what elevates Vespa above just another scooter. Chrome accents, paint quality that honestly would not look out of place on a luxury car, and switches that feel like they were made to last. The Italian design language is obvious in every curve of the bodywork. Even the mirrors look sculpted, not just bolted on. It's the kind of machine where people stop in parking lots and say, "Nice Vespa," and they wouldn't say, "When are you gonna get a real bike?" Unlike other niche brands, Vespa benefits from Piaggio's relatively wide dealer and parts network. Maintenance costs are higher than on a Honda Super Cub, sure, but you won't be struggling to find service centers like you would with, like an MV Agusta or another boutique manufacturer. So, what separates Vespa from other scooters out there? It's not about max speed, and it's definitely not bang for buck displacement, but the GTS is about style, practicality, and cultural permanence. For nearly $8,000, you're not just buying a scooter, you're buying a rolling piece of history that also happens to get over 70 mpg, fits into tiny parking spots, and you can carry your groceries home. We often focus on the high horsepower, flashy stuff here on Yami Noob. We've made countless videos about top shelf leader bikes, Turbo Hayabusas, H2s, and the latest crop of excellent middleweight sport bikes. But without machines like this Vespa, we lose sight of how broad and interesting the two-wheeled world can be. The Vespa GTS 310 allows us to experience a yin and yang with motorcycling. It balances out the extreme nature of other bikes. It's a fascinating and stylish way to experience life on two wheels. We need more approachable gateway drugs into motorcycles, not gatekeepers. Most of motorcycling is angular, aggressive, masculine. The Vespa serves as a foil to that. It's an antidote to the spec sheet warriors, a bike that doesn't ask much of you at all. It's just as excited mobbing around your neighborhood or running errands. It's testament to the fact that the Vespa is an icon because of how fun it is for someone who's never ridden before, and for someone like me who has a ton of motorcycling experience. There's a sort of motorcyclist who snubs their nose at scooters, but truth be told, most dyed-in-the-wool motorcycle riders that I know absolutely love scooters. People like Garrett Gerloff, a world superbike racer whom we featured here on the channel, espousing his love of the scooter, or my buddy Brandon, who races in CMRA, who adores his Honda Helix, which we also featured here on Yami Noob. And if memory serves me correctly, I remember talking to Ari Henning, chatting with him about his Zuma scooter when I was in California a while back. Are you starting to see a pattern? This thing gives you a simple fun that is difficult to explain without letting someone just swing a leg or step a leg and take it for a spin. If you enjoy quote-unquote sketchy motorcycles, you want a bit of danger, you want something novel or interesting, guess what? You want a scooter. all other companies have tried to capture the magic of a Vespa. This model is as iconic as a Harley Sportster or a Yamaha R1. Think of the countless ways that other brands have tried to eat the Vespa's lunch, and yet this thing endures. Why is that? Well, I think the Vespa has a special sauce of cultural cachet, excellent quality and features, and a design that's been loved for over 75 years that, while receiving some updates over those years, has remained largely unchanged. It began the way that all great products do, out of necessity. Post-World War II Italy just needed a way to get mobile again through the rubble of their cities, and the Vespa was born. This particular model is expensive, I can't deny that, at nearly $8,000 MSRP, that after taxes, title, license, and yes, unfortunately tariffs, this bike can ring up to nearly $10,000 out the door. Is that too much? Well, it depends. The Vespa has a way of tugging at your heartstrings. This model in this electric blue color just really speaks to me. I feel a sense of happiness looking at it, and maybe that's worth the price of entry. The GTS 310 is interesting because it is much more capable than your average 50cc two-stroke scooter. If you need to jump onto the highway, it's gonna happily cruise at 70 miles per hour with a sense of stability and grace that really belies its diminutive appearance. And yet, it's equally graceful in ultra-low speeds. It requires virtually zero concentration or attention to ride. The Vespa just gives you a chance to take it all in. Wear a pair of shorts, a half helmet, go cruise to the bodega and pick up a sandwich. Life's better when you take it easy. So I make no qualms about it. I love scooters, and this Vespa GTS is one of the best ones I've ever tried. If you've never given something like this a chance as a motorcyclist, give it a shot, you got nothing to lose. We're gonna rate this bike a solid 8.75 out of 10. It's a little pricey, so we reduced the score a bit, but it's still such a wonderful thing to ride. I appreciate you checking out today's video. A big shout out to AF1 here in Austin for letting us borrow this Vespa for today's show. Check them out if you're in the Central Texas area looking for your next European ride. And now, I'm gonna head off and try to convince myself that I don't need a Vespa. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.